Ladies and gentlemen, let's explore a dynamic that has fascinated human relationships for millennia: what men truly notice about women. What I'm about to share doesn't stem from mere social constructs, but from deeply ingrained psychological and emotional realities. Too often we simplify male perception into superficial terms, but men, despite stereotypes, are more perceptive than they let on. And women, often unknowingly, express nuances that resonate deeply. Let's unpack these unnoticed truths. One of the most subtle yet profoundly noticed traits in human relationships is emotional resilience. It's a quality often underestimated or misunderstood, but it carries immense power. When we talk about resilience, we're not just referring to the ability to recover from setbacks or endure suffering. It's about a particular way of navigating the world, of facing chaos without allowing it to consume you. Men often notice this resilience in women more than they let on, although it may not be discussed or articulated. This observation isn't based on a conscious checklist of behaviors. It's more of an intuitive understanding, an awareness of how someone carries themselves through life's challenges. Women who embody emotional resilience often radiate a calm strength that others naturally respect, admire, and in some cases, gravitate toward. Resilience doesn't mean masking your pain or pretending to be unaffected. On the contrary, true emotional strength is about the willingness to acknowledge vulnerability while refusing to be defined by it. Consider the woman who has experienced loss but still finds meaning in her life and purpose in her actions. Or the woman who is confronted with failure but doesn't allow shame to dictate her next move. These behaviors leave lasting impressions, especially on men who recognize depth and complexity in character. In moments of conflict or distress, emotional resilience also shows in how a woman communicates. It's easy to lash out or shut down when things go wrong. But a resilient woman finds a way to process her emotions without becoming ruled by them. She may still feel anger, sadness, or disappointment, but she channels those emotions constructively. It's not about emotional suppression, it's about emotional mastery. And why is this noticed? Because it signals stability. In relationships, emotional stability is one of the most sought-after qualities, even if it isn't always consciously identified. A woman who has mastered emotional resilience tends to approach life's ups and downs with a balanced perspective, which in turn creates a foundation of trust and respect. Moreover, resilience is often revealed in how a person speaks about themselves. Women who display emotional strength do not dwell in perpetual self-criticism. They may be self-aware enough to acknowledge their flaws or mistakes, but they don't become imprisoned by self-doubt. Instead, they use their experiences as stepping stones for growth, continually evolving into wiser, more self-assured individuals. It's important to note that resilience doesn't mean perfection or immunity from breakdowns. There may be moments of weakness, tears, and moments of despair, but resilience is revealed in the aftermath. The choice to get up, to learn, to heal, and to move forward with integrity. Men notice this strength because it speaks to something universal: the search for meaning amidst suffering. A resilient person doesn't deny the reality of life's hardships. Instead, they transform those hardships into lessons that shape their character. This transformation is something powerful and magnetic, a quiet signal of someone who will not be easily defeated, no matter what life throws their way. Kindness is often spoken about in grand gestures or sweeping actions, but in truth, it's the small, fleeting moments that leave the deepest and most lasting impressions. Micro-expressions of kindness, those subtle, barely perceptible behaviors, are often far more powerful than they appear on the surface. And while these moments may pass unnoticed by the wider world, they do not go unobserved. They are absorbed, remembered, and reflected upon by those attuned to them. Men, whether they are consciously aware of it or not, are remarkably perceptive to these micro-expressions. A smile shared with a stranger, a gentle touch on the shoulder, a few extra moments of undivided attention. These quiet acts of consideration say more than words ever could. They are small windows into the soul of a person and can reveal a depth of character that may otherwise remain hidden. What makes these expressions so powerful is their sincerity. There is no fanfare, no expectation of reward or acknowledgement. True micro-expressions of kindness are instinctive and genuine. They are born from empathy, from an ability to see beyond oneself and extend compassion to others even when there is no immediate benefit. This authenticity, though subtle, is deeply felt by those around it. Consider the small actions that often go unnoticed in the hustle of daily life. A woman who instinctively helps someone carry a heavy load without thinking twice. The one who holds a door open a little longer than necessary to ensure no one is left behind. Or the woman who listens intently, truly hearing the other person without interruption or impatience. These may seem trivial, but their impact can be profound. They reflect a willingness to step out of one's own concerns and be present for another human being, even in the smallest of ways. There is also something incredibly graceful about a woman who displays kindness, not as a calculated choice, but as a way of being. It's evident in her body language, how she leans in during conversations, maintains eye contact, or offers a warm smile when others might choose indifference. These small signals communicate openness and empathy. They invite connection, making those around her feel seen, valued, and understood. Men are especially attuned to how women treat others in everyday situations. How a woman speaks to a waiter, how she interacts with a cashier, or how she responds to someone in need of help. All of these are moments that speak volumes. A person's true nature is often revealed not in how they act when the spotlight is on, but in these seemingly insignificant exchanges. Then there are moments of kindness that go unnoticed by the wider world but are quietly observed by those who are paying attention. For example, offering words of encouragement during a difficult time, expressing gratitude for small things, or showing patience in moments of frustration. These acts may not change the world, but they can profoundly change how someone feels about themselves or their situation. And men notice these things more than they are often given credit for. Kindness also has a ripple effect. One small act can set off a chain reaction, inspiring others to act with more empathy and consideration. A woman who models this behavior becomes a quiet leader in her social circle, influencing those around her in ways she may never even realize. This influence, though subtle, is powerful and lasting. Self-respect is one of the most profound yet understated qualities a person can possess. It's not a trait that announces itself loudly, but rather a quiet, steady force that radiates from within. It's often revealed in ways that are so subtle they could easily go unnoticed, but for those who are paying attention, these signs speak volumes. Men, in particular, are more attuned to these signs of self-respect than many might assume. One of the first indicators of self-respect is a woman's boundaries. Not just the ones she verbalizes, but also the ones she enforces without words. There is something quietly powerful about a woman who knows where her limits are and holds to them firmly, without apology or explanation. Whether it's in a social situation, workplace environment, or personal relationship, a woman with self-respect doesn't allow herself to be treated in a way that diminishes her worth. She knows what she deserves, and she expects that from others, not with aggression, but with an unshakable calmness. Body language is another subtle yet unmistakable cue of self-respect. A woman with this trait tends to carry herself with a certain level of poise. It's seen in her posture, shoulders back, head held high, not as a performance, but as a natural reflection of her inner state. She occupies space with confidence, whether she's in a crowded room or walking down an empty street. Her movements are deliberate, her gestures intentional, and her presence undeniable. These physical expressions may seem minor, but they convey volumes about how she sees herself. The way a woman speaks also reveals her level of self-respect. There is a notable difference between someone who speaks out of a need for validation and someone who speaks from a place of self-assuredness. A woman with self-respect doesn't feel the need to dominate a conversation or prove her worth with excessive words. She chooses her words carefully, speaks when she has something meaningful to say, and listens when others speak. Her communication style is clear, firm, and honest. Even when she disagrees, she does so with grace, never resorting to cruelty or manipulation. Self-respect is also evident in how a woman handles adversity. Life is unpredictable and setbacks are inevitable, But a woman who respects herself doesn't allow her failures or misfortunes to define her. Instead, she treats herself with compassion and forgiveness, understanding that mistakes are part of growth. She doesn't berate herself endlessly or spiral into self-doubt. Instead, she learns from her experiences, adjusts her path, and moves forward with renewed determination. How a woman manages her time and energy is another sign. A woman with self-respect is discerning about where she invests her resources. She doesn't give her time freely to people or activities that drain her or fail to honor her worth. Instead, she prioritizes relationships and pursuits that align with her values and bring meaning to her life. She understands that saying no is not selfish, it's necessary for maintaining her sense of self. Her self-respect also shines through in her self-care practices. This doesn't necessarily mean elaborate beauty routines or fitness regimens, although those can be a part of it. It's more about the consistency with which she nurtures her well-being. She takes the time to rest when needed, feeds her mind with knowledge and inspiration, and seeks joy in the little moments of life. She understands that her physical, mental, and emotional health are interconnected, and she prioritizes all of them accordingly. Perhaps most importantly, self-respect is revealed in how a woman talks to herself when no one else is listening. A woman who respects herself is mindful of her inner dialogue. She doesn't allow negative self-talk to run rampant. Instead, she challenges those thoughts, replacing them with words of encouragement and affirmation. She recognizes her flaws without letting them overshadow her strengths, and she gives herself permission to grow and evolve without judgment. Men notice all of these things, not because they are consciously looking for them, but because self-respect is an energy that can be felt. It creates an undeniable aura of dignity and strength that commands attention without demanding it. It signals that a woman knows her worth and will not settle for anything less than what aligns with her truth. It's often said, men are simple creatures, but that's a falsehood built on misunderstanding. Men are deeply wired to notice what's often unsaid. Strength in vulnerability, kindness in action, and respect as a lived principle. When these elements are present, they create a resonance, one that words may never fully capture, but is always, without fail, felt. Thank you.